Today we're looking at an internal courtyard for a proposed apartment development in an urban environment. So what we have here is an existing building over here and our proposed apartments over here. We can see that there's only one point of access from the rear and all through traffic coming from here. Of course, of primary concern is the access, but a simple path isn't enough. What we've seen from the pandemic is that there is a need for higher quality, better open space for people to gather and convene in. So we create these little opportunities by opening up the path here and maybe over here to create little landing areas. So that looks like this. However, from a design point of view, it leaves a lot to be desired because we have these isolated open spaces which are connected by a single path. That creates too many breaks in material. And what we actually need is for better unity, especially because the space is so small. So what we decided to do was to take one of these squares and overlap it in onto itself as a running motif throughout the internal courtyard. So I'm going to talk you through how that would have happened here. At this orientation, these horizontal lines of the building and across there are recreated here with these squares. We play with the format and the size of the squares just to really get some variety going. So that's all the squares here. I'm going to change color just so that it's clear what's happening. So this awkward building line coming across here then can be captured and resolved with this pad here. This ensures, as I've spoken about in previous videos, that the landscape adheres to and actually enhances the architecture of the building, that there is a cohesiveness there, that there's a dialogue between the two as opposed to them being isolated. So this building line over here gets captured with this pad here. Now a final pad, just to be a little bit awkward and slightly playful, is to have one large pad which is at a 45 to the original red. What we start to see now, without it looking too Teletubby-like, is that we have these leftover spaces at the edges, and these are great opportunities for greening the space. We also have a requirement for visitor bicycle parking and a few other elements. So when we finesse and resolve this further, we start to look at a plan that looks very much like this. So we have the bicycle parking down here. You can see how subtle those pads dancing around are. They're not as apparent as they once were, but the concept is still there. We also have great greening opportunities for vertical elements with hedging coming in and along here. And then all of these circles representing trees. One final thing to note, when we start off with a very strong landscape concept, we're able to adapt that to any changes that might occur to the site. So for example, in this case, the building's footprint changed, the visitor bicycle parking had to shift, and a few other things happened. But we were able to very simply just retain that idea of these squares. Maybe they shift, they get larger or smaller, but they're able to incorporate and still retain themselves. You can see here that the building has been pushing out, and then we have these green pads here. So suddenly we've got these three trees, which also exaggerate the line of the building here. The benches are roughly the same. We've lost one here. We have a line of hedging in the back, and then these trees. But we still have our squares, which are slightly obscured now, but that's all right because we know that they're going to be able to adapt and move to whatever changes might occur. The final render plan looks like this.